Have you ever been afraid during traveling? Is traveling alone safe? Is traveling alone with a baby safe? Well, the answer is for the most part it is. But today I'm going to talk to you guys about the five scariest moments that I've had while traveling. And although most of the time, like I said, we are good, they do happen. These moments were really scary. So grab yourself something to drink. I have my guanabana juice here, which is soursop juice. And let's get into story time. Okay, we're gonna go right into it. So one of the most scary ones, which was all the way in the beautiful country of Morocco. Let me just close the window real quick so it's not too loud for you guys. So we'll start with a little bit of context. When we first arrive in Morocco, we actually are staying in a place in the north, in a place called um, Marina Marina Schmid, which is very close to Rincon. They use a lot of Spanish names or um, what was the other name for that town? Anyways, it's very close to Tetuan in the north of Morocco. And the place that I found actually, it was able to get a better deal from paying directly cash to the host, which I found the place on Airbnb. And I was able to secure this place ahead of time. So I was super excited. I was like, you know what? We're gonna be near the beach, even though obviously like the beaches were a little bit different in that part of Morocco. We had our own little studio, and Elian was had just turned 1 year old, like shortly, like right before arriving in Morocco when we were in France. And I was getting exhausted, being a single mom alone with a child is exhausting. And because I knew that I was going to stay there for a little bit of time, I was like, you know what? I'm going to ask the host if they know anyone that could work for me as a nanny. And I had done something similar in Colombia and ended up having a nanny that worked for us for like maybe like a month during our time there. And it was really, really great. But that was all the way back when Elian was like 3, 4 months old. So it had been a minute since I'd hired somebody. But I was ready to get a little bit of a hand. So the host eventually, it took him like a week to get back to me in terms of the nanny. And he messaged me saying, okay, I have a potential lady for you. She's gonna come tomorrow to meet you, and if it works for you, then you can hire her. So when she comes, I immediately feel a little off about her, like her energy. She's speaking to me in Spanish because, like I was saying, in the north of Morocco, it's very close to Spain. So a lot of people there speak Spanish as their second language, apart from Arabic. So she was talking to me and asking if you, and yeah, I was asking her a few questions about how she felt about childcare and whatnot. And she's an older lady, but I felt like her energy was just low key aggressive, low key. It just felt off. I was like, you know what? Give me your number and I'll call you. But I kind of was just like, no, I'm not gonna call her. She's not a good fit. I just didn't feel the energy was really right. But then she was just she looked at her friend that she came with. I don't know if it was friend or family, but she came with someone else to the interview. And she was just like, I don't really, I'm not really good with the phone. Like, it's better you just tell me when to come and I'll come. And I was like, you know what? Fine, we can do like a trial and just like, I'll call her to come. So I had her come the next day. She came and, she was helpful. And like I said, like her energy was off, but I just kind of at the time I just really wanted the help. So I just kind of accepted it and let her be around, right? And it was still nice to have help around the house, and she was playing with Elian and taking him outside a little bit so that I was able to get some editing done, some work done, which is really, really valuable as a single mom and content creator and someone who works online. Also had did I have clients at the time? I don't really remember, but yeah, I needed this time to myself, the time to work, the time to just breathe. And so I accepted it. And so she was helping with the cleaning. And also, the one thing she said was like, you don't ever have to cook. Like, I'll always do the cooking for you. And I was like, oh, but I like to cook. And she's like, no, 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 you don't have to cook. She's like, you you never have to cook because you have all these other things you have to worry about. Like, I'll do the cooking. And I was just like, but I like cooking. Like, it's no worries. Like, you can help me sometimes, but like, I don't want you to do it all the time. But that was kind of, remember this detail as I continue the story. Um, so this one day, she comes, and the moment she arrives, she's like adamant that she wants to make me this particular dish. This place has a little mini oven, right? So she's like, I'm gonna make you like some roasted vegetables. And the thing is, I wanted to ask her that day if she could make something with this vegan meat that I got. Like, I went to Ceuta, which is this little Spanish enclave that is in the north of Morocco. It's technically in Spain, so they have like a lot more vegan products and whatnot. So I went there a few times to do my grocery shopping, to get like vegan meats and cheeses and different things that you can't really find in Morocco very easily. And the day before, I just went there and I picked up this vegan meat. So I wanted her to make something with that. And she was like, oh, well, I'll just cut it up then and add it to the roasted veggie pan. She was like so adamant on making this specific dish this day. So it's like, okay, whatever, that's fine. I'm not really that picky. Like, as long as it's vegan, it's good. And so she prepares the food. It's in the oven. It's been in the oven for a minute. And I ask if she can just take Elion outside to play. And the area that she would take him outside is like, there's kind of like a backyard area. This complex had several different homes in it, and the middle had like a pool, which was not in the state to be used. It hadn't been cleaned in a minute, but there was just like a little grass area and whatnot. And she would just take him to play around there. And so I could see them playing outside, and I sat there and was getting a little bit of work done. And I was like, you know what? She told me just before leaving that the veggies are done, but they're still in the oven. Like, the oven was off, it finished cooking, but they were still there. So I went over and I grabbed a carrot from the sheet pan. I remember so vividly. It was a carrot. I put it in my mouth, and instantly it tasted like chemically. It tasted like kind of like how what you would expect bleach or something really strong, like, or ammonia to taste like, really weird. And so I spat it out, and my very first thought was, this lady's poisoning me. She's trying to kill me. And I look outside, and she's there with Elian, but she's staring right into the window, looking at me with this look. I will never forget the look. She was like looking at me like waiting for something to happen, like she was waiting for me to drop dead or something. She knew, like, there's no doubt in my mind that she was definitely up to something. But I sat there, and the first thing I did was hop on a chat GPT, and I described what happened. I described that I ate that piece and how it tasted and whatnot. And it was like, oh, well, if you suspect foul play, like, talk to someone trusted, da, da, da. And I messaged a friend at the time, and they're like, oh, really? Like, I don't know. I was doing my best to just brush it off and not believe that it was what it was, because I was in denial, and my body was like, it was just something so extreme and so hard to believe. It was so hard to believe that someone that would actually try to poison me. So I actually sat and did a meditation to like calm myself down, And I was also just like, you know what? If she really did poison me, but my body needs a reset, it needs like air to breathe, and like, I don't know, that was just my rationalization moment. So I did a little meditation. When she came back, I asked her, I was like, the food tasted kind of bitter. And then she was like, oh, really? Like, was it spicy? She was like, I only put these two spices in it. And I was like, no, like, not spicy, but it was bitter. And she goes and she puts a piece in her mouth, and she instantly spits it out. And then she points at this white powder that's there. She says, oh, that wasn't salt then. Like, basically, like, she used something and she thought it was salt, but it actually ended up not being salt. And so, I don't know, I just kind of accepted that. She finished the rest of her shift, like, she was almost done anyways, and then she left. And I just continued the rest of my day. I think I went to bed. And I was lying in bed trying to sleep that night. It just kept going through my mind. And I kept replaying it and putting the details together. And then this key moment, I remembered that because I just arrived at the place, right? So in the moment I believed, okay, like maybe it actually wasn't salt because I hadn't really cooked there. But then I remembered that the day previously I had made rice and I put a little bit of salt in that rice. And there was no problem with that salt. That salt was salt. So I was like, she's lying that, like, that there was no issue with that salt. And then if you haven't heard the story, but I have basically like a mentor, Peruvian lady that I consider my mom. And I called her and told her what happened. And she was like, no, like she, like this legitimately sounds like she was trying to do something. Like, you need to get out of there ASAP. It was like 3 a.m. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're totally right. Like, I need to get out of here. I remember I was so scared. I still had laundry like in the uh, hanging in the upstairs area. I like put Elian on my back in the baby carrier. I went upstairs, grabbed all my stuff, packed everything. I stayed on the phone with my Peruvian mom the whole time, and then I just got in a taxi. And my plan was to go to Chefchaouen because I've been wanting to go to Chefchaouen, and I was like, I just need to get to a different town to get away from here, somewhere that I can feel safe and escape from. And I feel like in another video I need to tell you guys all the different stories about Chefchaouen because my time there was amazing, and it's so unfortunate that all the footage got lost. My son deleted a lot of footage from a lot of countries, unfortunately, so we don't have the footage from Chefchaouen anymore. But yeah, I hopped in a taxi. There was a guy that was like one of the guys that worked there that was at the front as I was leaving, and he was like asking where I'm going, and I just told him I was going to Tetuan. I told him I had an emergency and I just had to head to Tetuan like ASAP. And I just told him I was going to come back. Like, I just need to leave on a quick trip and come back, just so that I just didn't want them suspecting that I was actually leaving because I was really scared and worried. So I hopped in a taxi. Once the taxi was in Tetuan, I told him, "Hey, I need to go to Chefchaouen, but do not tell those people that I'm going there. Tell them that you dropped me off in Tetuan." And they did. And that guy, that the taxi driver that drove me all the way to Chefchaouen, he honestly was an angel. Like, because was arriving at like 5, 6 a.m. in Chefchaouen, the sun had just risen, and I had nowhere to go. Didn't I didn't manage to have any responses from anyone on like Airbnb or anything like that because it was so early. And you with things like Airbnb or even booking specific hotels in Morocco, like you need to make sure that they're going to be there to receive you, right? So he actually came out of the car with me. He ended up being a little bit late for his work because of this, but I'm honestly so grateful, so grateful that he was there to help me out. He like walked around the Medina with me, knocking on all these hotel doors, and finally we found one that would accept me, and that was that. That I was safe in Chefchaouen, but mentally, emotionally, I was so traumatized. Like, it was just like it just really changed my view of the world. It was a really big moment for me because before then, like I had scary moments. I'll tell you about the rest of the scary moments, but this was probably the biggest one. It had me questioning like humanity and just like realizing that there really are people out there that are legitimately want to harm you enough, like to legitimately kill you. I don't know if she really wanted to kill me or if she just wanted to do me harm for some other reason, but nonetheless, there weren't good intentions. So that's number one, the biggest, freakiest one. Number two, all right, we're gonna go back a few years to Mexico. This was during the time that actually I was just breaking up with my ex. We were together for like 3 years, but things have been rocky the whole time, but things were really towards its end during this trip here in Acapulco. And let me tell you, we went to Acapulco because we were just trying to get away from Mexico City. We were in Mexico City for a minute, and I was like, let's go check out the beach or something like that. And so, it's really funny when I think about it now, but like I always would just look on a map and look on Google Maps and see what's around and be like, let's just go to this place. I've always been like that, like just really random with my selection of places to travel. And I seen that there was this place that was near the ocean called Acapulco, and it was like a 5 hour bus ride from Mexico City. And I was like, you know what? Let's go there. We can enjoy the beach a bit, and we found a place that seemed like really cheap price on Booking.com that had decent reviews. And then we went there, but on the way there, I realized I was looking it up that Acapulco like has a really bad reputation. Like there's a high homicide rate, and actually a little backstory about Acapulco. Well, in the past, Acapulco was a place where like celebrities would go and buy homes, and it was like a luxurious, like super nice place. And then like several years ago, everything changed. Because the cartels started taking over the military. There's one point that they had to fire all of their military because they were all involved with gang activity, cartel activity. So, so yeah, that had me nervous as we were arriving because I was like, okay, we may have not chosen the best destination. And then our bus arrived late to Acapulco. We got there like it was like maybe 11 p.m. And as we were in the center, like we were asking around different taxis to take us to the address of the place we booked. So many were like refusing. And at the time, this was in my early days in Mexico. So my Spanish was still very basic. I didn't fully understand everything, but I could still understand from their expressions that when we were asking them, the ones that were denying it, they were basically saying like, they're gonna die or something, like this is too dangerous. Like they didn't want to go there because of that. Hold on, I'm just gonna fix the lighting. One second. Yeah, I don't know if that did much, but I feel like it was getting a bit dark. So that had me feeling strange, and I was just like, where are we going? Because we're in a city that has this reputation, and then all these taxi drivers are refusing to take us to our location. So bunch of red flags already. We get to our place. It's in a very like kind of secluded area of the city, like where there's a lot of farmlands. Like we're surrounded by farms, and throughout the month there, like we, it's almost like we'll randomly hear gunshots like on a regular like throughout the day. Like the moment we got to the house, actually, the house was like not the best condition either. I wanted to leave right away. I like either go and find another place or go to Mexico City. Like that's what my gut told me. And my gut doesn't lie to me, but unfortunately this toxic relationship I was in, my ex didn't want to go leave. He wanted to stay. And so I ended up staying because of him. And we met different people and like got to know where we were in the area. And what it kind of seemed as time went by was that we kind of started to understand that the way that it works in these kind of like cartel areas is that they come out and like they're the violence and things that happen a lot of times happen out in these farm areas because that's where they have like a lot of hidden cocaine crops, and it's just easier to get away a little more from civilization, right? So fast forward a little bit, we were there for almost a full month, like actually maybe it was like 2.5, 3 weeks, and things were getting like basically to the very last string of this relationship, and we were already pretty much almost like decided that we were going to split. And there was just one day we just went to just hang out with a friend that we had both mutually met, and we hung out with him for the day. And then when I came to evening, he asked if we wanted to stay over at his place. They had a really like a nice place near the beach. They had like which had a pool and everything. It was really cool, and we enjoyed hanging out with him for the day. But I was like, you know what? I told my ex, like, why don't you stay here and spend the night here, and I'll go back and have a night on my own. I just need some space. And in my head, I was actually planning, like, you know what? I'm gonna pack all my stuff and leave. So like before he gets back, so that it's just easier to for me mentally, emotionally, whatever, to leave him, right? And that night, so yeah, his wife drives me back to the place, and that night was one of the scariest nights of my life. I like I told you, in this place there is gunshots like on the daily, but it would just be like one or two, and then time passes and it's like whatever, it is what it is. But this night there were machine guns going off all night long, and it sounded so close. It literally sounded like it was right outside my window. I just remember ducking down, hiding under the window, and just sitting there like, when is this going to end? And it went on all night long. Um, so when morning came and it finally died down, I was obviously exhausted from lack of sleep, but also just ready to pack up my stuff and leave. Not just because of the situation with my ex, but also because I wanted to get away from this crazy place. Now, I don't want to put like such a like bad name on Acapulco because I know that like the main touristy area is like completely fine, but it's just the area we were staying in was not a safe place, like I told you. And my stupid ex did not want to accept the fact that we were in danger when we were there and didn't want to leave, and I I just went along with it. So yeah, that's my story about uh, the scary machine gun evening in Acapulco. And so yeah, in the morning I packed up all my stuff and then I left to Mexico City, and I haven't seen my ex since. It's been years. That was how we broke up, but I just remember I actually called my mom and my brother like they were together, and I was just like, "There's gunshots like crazy outside. What do I do?" And they're like, "We can't do anything. We're not there with you." Yeah, I mean, they weren't as brave as they could have been, but yeah, I just held on to my cat. I was traveling with my cat at the time as well, and just hid. Okay, let's go on to number three. The next one. Okay, this is another one. This is years before Mexico. Another one with my ex. We lived in LA. Well, I lived in LA. Like I that's where I met him. So this is when we first met. And I was there about 3 months. But this one day, so when we lived in LA, we like hopped around to so many different places, like different Airbnbs and whatnot. And so we got to know a lot of different areas of the city. And this one place that we had, like, there was one direction that would have led us to like the Hood, Inglewood, Compton, in terms of getting on the bus, and the other direction to our Airbnb. Well, this day we hopped on the wrong bus in the wrong direction, and we ended up in Inglewood by accident. And like I was telling you, this relationship was a bit toxic. We got off, and we could have just quickly gotten on the right bus, but we ended up staying there for a few hours just because we were arguing about like stupid things, and we ended up getting food at this fast food place and stuff, and so we ended up being there. It wasn't even dark, but it was maybe like 7:30 p.m. We're waiting at the bus stop to finally go to the right direction, to our place, and oh my goodness. Now I know what the life is like in the hood. Literally, there was just, you could hear the cops, the sirens, and then just like cars chasing each other, and just like gunshots like crazy going back and forth. And you could tell that it's the gangs and the cops just going after one another. Like literally, like just like you feel like you're in the middle of a war zone. And this is different from the Acapulco time because yeah, sure, that time was machine guns and it sounded close, but I was in like my own place where I had like locked doors and everything, and I could have a level of kind of safety that I could feel. But there we were on the street sitting at the bus stop, and I just remember like I was shaking in fear. I was like, when is this bus gonna get here? I want to get out of here. And and he was not helpful either. He was not supportive at all. He was just like, stop acting so scared. They can tell you're scared. It's like, okay, that's super easy right now. But everyone around, like everyone in the neighborhood, was just walking around like it was just a normal Thursday night, which to them it is just a normal Thursday night in Inglewood. So yeah, that was freaky. And I learned my lesson to always double check if you're taking the bus somewhere to make sure that you hop on the right one and don't end up somewhere that is famously known to be dangerous. Okay, number four. As you can see, a lot of these involve gun violence, which is scary. We're gonna go fast forward to my life as a mother. As you guys may know, if you follow all my travels, I traveled all around Latin America with my baby, since he was 5 weeks old, and we spent 3 months in Colombia when we arrived when he was like 3 months old, and then we stayed actually like almost 4 months in total in Colombia. And so we are in Cali. We stayed in Cali for 1 month, in this area that actually is supposed to be a safer area, like close to the touristy zone. And we weren't in an apartment, but we had our own like studio that was kind of just like a house on the street. Those are really common in Latin America, like the houses like that. But um, it was a nice little place that we had, and it did have double bars. Like there was an outside gate that you could lock, and the neighbor, the one that worked for the Airbnb and was like taking care of the place, he would always tell me like, make sure you lock that outside one, and I always did. But this one day, Elian was taking a nap, sound asleep. He's probably like 4.5 months old at this point, and I don't remember what I was doing. I was maybe making food or editing something. I don't know. And all of a sudden, I hear a series of gunshots that literally sound like, this time it sounded even closer than that machine gun time, but it wasn't a machine gun, but it was a series of shots. Like someone just got shot right outside the place. It sounded like it was right outside the door, so loud, the loudest I've ever heard in gunshots in my life. And I quickly ran and picked him up off the bed, hid under the window, and I kind of peeked through to see what was going on. And when I peeked through, I could see there were cops arriving on motorcycles. They're really common in Latin America for the police to be moving around on motorcycles. And there was this guy that like they were just like this guy on the street, and as the motorcycles were coming by, the cops, they were just like, the guy was like papaya, 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 like they went that way. And then I couldn't fully hear what he was saying, but he was like describing like la muchacha, like I don't know, like either like it was a woman who shot someone or a woman who got shot, but like basically was pointing the direction, and then they quickly ran off, tried to catch the guy. But yeah, it was a quick little story because that's where it really ended. But that also was a moment, especially because it was the first kind of moment, scary kind of gun related moment as a mom, that had me questioning again as well, thinking like, should I be traveling alone with my baby? Maybe this wasn't the smartest decision to go and continue living this nomad life with my child. Questioning a lot of my decisions and whatnot, which is kind of normal. I mean, um, nothing actually happened. We were safe, but it was scary. And after that, I made sure that I actually definitely didn't walk as much around even during the day. I mainly took Ubers after that, just because it really shook me up, to be quite honest. But but yeah, that was that story that happened in Cali. Very last one. Okay, so this story, it's not really like ooh scary, super fearful story, but it was fast forwarding back to the times in California with my ex, and actually we were just about I was about to hop on a flight back to Canada for a bit, and he was staying in the States, and we were in San Diego at the time, at San Diego Airport, and we got to the airport and we were like, you know what? Well, mainly me. I was like, I really want to go to Trader Joe's because my flight, I still had a lot of time before my flight, and this was like my last little bit of time in the States. So I was like, I want to have my last Trader Joe's experience, because Trader Joe's was like kind of iconic for us during that time in California. We used to always go there and get like these tofu spring rolls and green juices and kale salads. It was like a classic. So I was like, I want to have my last Trader Joe's meal before heading back to Canada, where there's no Trader Joe's. Um, I wasn't heading there permanently. I was just heading back to Canada to get something sorted and then continue traveling. But we had my big travel backpack, another bag, and it was like a half an hour walk to get to Trader Joe's. But I was like, we can do it. As we were walking through, we were both so tired. We're walking through this park, and we're like halfway there, and we thought, you know what, like maybe we can just hide my bags and our stuff in like a bush somewhere or something, like where it wouldn't be seen, and like we just come back and get it on the way back. So we do that, and then we go to the Trader Joe's. We have our last meal, and then on the way back, I realized that one of the bags was taken. The one, I feel so stupid telling you this, but for some reason I didn't take my passport out of that bag. My one of the bags had my passport in it, and that bag was stolen. Yeah, it was gone. But the big one was still there, but the smaller one that had my passport on it got taken. And I remember we were like frantically like looking around trying to see if we could see who took it. And then there was a hotel nearby, and we went to the hotel and asked them if they knew anything. And actually in the hotel they're like, why didn't you just ask us to store your bag? Would have stored it for you. And I was just like, man, why didn't I do that? Like, that was such a stupid move. But the thing is, like, we kind of like got used to doing this. I mean, at least within LA, I guess San Diego's different. There were certain moments where we would just like really stealthily and smartly hide our stuff somewhere to continue on walking, because I had this really big travel backpack with me. It was huge and it got tiring carrying it around all the time. Because like I said, we were always moving around from place to place, right? So so that was scary because I had never lost a passport before or had it stolen, and actually having it just be stolen in that manner was freaky because I didn't know whose hands it was in. I didn't know if my identity was going to get stolen or something. Thank the Lord it hasn't been. But I couldn't hop on my flight because I was about to hop on an international flight to get back to Canada, and I didn't have my passport. So what I actually had to do to get back home was I had to end up flying to Seattle and then having my sister drive and pick me up from Seattle and drove me to Vancouver. And then at the land border, I had to explain to them how my passport got stolen and then show them my birth certificate and all these other things that they let me in. But that was so crazy. And that was definitely a big lesson for me, like, to just be careful with your stuff. But guys, that is it for my stories of my scariest moments traveling. Comment down below, have you ever experienced any scary moments traveling? And just give me some feedback. What do you think about the stories I told you guys? Which one would be scariest if it happened to you? Also, I want to let you guys know that I have started 2 new channels. They're both new cooking channels, which I'm really, really excited about. They're basically the same thing, but one is in English, one is in Spanish. The first one is called Veg Nomad, which is the English one. The other one is called Nomada Vegana. And basically on there, I am doing weekly recipes. So I'll write in the description what days I'm posting actually, but every week I'm going to be giving you guys a new recipe, mostly from different countries I've traveled to, or some are just from places that have a really like close place to my heart and my soul. But I'm going to be telling you guys stories as I make these different recipes, veganized of course. And I'm super excited about this. I've actually been like mentally planning this channel for so long and just never got around to it. Just had mental blocks around it, I guess. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to start it out. So the first recipe is already up. It's the menestra de lentejas, or the Ecuadorian lentil stew. And I tell you guys a super interesting story about what happened to me on a bus ride in Ecuador. And I would love if you guys checked it out. So I will link it in the description for you. And I'm so grateful that you guys joined me today. Every single week, every Wednesday, I'm going to be joining you guys with a different story for this series, the Nomad Mama Diaries, where I talk about what different experiences I've had traveling or different aspects of travel that I've gone through in the last 7 years traveling, and different tips and whatnot. So if there's a specific topic you would like me to talk about, let me know in the comments as well. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit your notification bell so you don't miss the next live or my weekly vlogs that I post every Saturday. This week I have another vlog from Chiang Mai coming up. I'm super excited to show you guys my experiences there and the business I started there too. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.